Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. Today, we're going to have a very specific subject line. We're going to talk very specifically about Retirement Boss Radio with the developer of Retirement Boss Radio and our coach, Dave Pemper. Dave has been working he's worked with radio for many, many years. He's been working with the Retirement Boss Radio, for a while, and basically has had gone through all of the testing and smoothed out all the bumps and made it very, very smooth process for our producers to get on the radio in their areas. So we're very, very pleased with the ability to make this new offering to our producers. And by new, we've been offering for about a month now. So in the big scheme of things, very new for us. So we're pleased to be able to offer it as part of the things that we make available to our agents and producers in the field. What you'll hear, I think you'll find very intriguing on a lot of fronts, but probably most so on how turnkey it is and how from a relative standpoint, how inexpensive that it can be to kind of get yourself started in the radio broadcasting business. And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit about the benefits of that as well. So let's go ahead and get started here this morning. Dave, are you with us? I'm guessing Dave is planning to join us here in just a few minutes, which is just perfect because we'll run through a couple of things. My name, by the way, is Steve Murray, the Executive Vice President here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services. And just want to make sure, as always, that we're putting out good things for you in terms of incentives and training and help to help you grow your business. And so that's what we're going to talk about here primarily today. And I'm going to skip through a couple of these things because this particular webinar invite only went out to folks that are already appointed with us for the most part, have shown real interest. So you've probably been on webinars and heard about our RPM programs and heard about our marketing reimbursement programs. If that's not the case, you want to learn more about how you can kind of monetize your referrals and how we can help pay for your marketing, give me a couple of calls on both of those, or call any of our sales directors, and we'll be glad to go through those with you. New producer bonus, again, most of you have already taken advantage of this at one time or another, which is great. If you haven't taken advantage yet of your new producer bonus, give your annuity sales director a call. There's a lot of things we can do with that, and could we even potentially get you on radio for your first month or so with a new producer bonus? I bet we could. So if that's of interest and that's how you want to proceed, certainly let me know. The bottom line you want to remember with the new producer bonuses, for those of you that have not yet taken advantage of that, is that we have certain things that we'll do for you. But if you have something that is of interest to you, some marketing initiative that you want to try, or something maybe another way that you want to attribute those funds, we are glad to do that. The bottom line is that what we try and build those new producer bonus builders around is ways to help you increase your business, which is good for everybody, and it's a great way to start a relationship. As you all know, our back office support is excellent. That submission to commission on the life and the annuity side is very, very strong, helping you with your sales development and helping you with your case development along the way. We've got good people for that. We pride ourselves on putting people on the phone with many, many years of experience working with producers and working with products. So it's a big part of the value proposition of doing business with IAMS. Creative marketing solutions, those are some things that we can do to help you. You can see on the screen there before you. So, bottom line is consider it like an advertising firm that is already set up to work specifically with you and people just like you. They're going to do it at as low or no cost as we can, because they're what we have tasked them with going out of the gate is, help our guys and gals as economically as possible, do as much as they can to get their brand and their business promoted and develop more sales. So that's what they're all about over there. Anything that they can do to help you grow your business, they're going to do it. I want to make sure that you all knew about our website, and keeping up with IAMS it can be done pretty easily from the website. I will point you specifically today, if you go to the website at www.iamsinc.com. If you have not registered already, I would encourage you to get registered. Go to the support section, go under the IAMS sales library, and just peruse that. If you've got 15 or 20 minutes, just peruse everything out there that is, it's just all built really to help you in the day-to-day part of your business. So if you're looking for, buy-sell agreements, if you're looking for ways to grow via referrals, some tools to grow via referrals, if you're looking for almost any type of standard legal insurance-based documentation, you'll find that out there. You'll be amazed with what all is out under there. So go to the website, imsinc.com, go into support, and then go into the IM Sales Library. Retirement Analyzer, again, nice little thing that we do for our agents. Great stuff. If you need a piece of software I guess more, it's not software, it's actually online. But if you need a tool to go to your clients and say, hey, let me tell you where you are on your retirement journey. Let's go through some stuff here, and let me show you something in a very graphic form as to where you're good, where you're bad, where you're long, where you're short, and get really detailed with it. Retirement Analyzer will be very, very good for you. So it takes you out of the, let me help you with getting a better rate on that CD type of thing to, let's make sure you're on the right path for your retirement goals. And it's called the Retirement Analyzer. We make that available to our guys at no cost. If you want to get a sample and look at it, just give Marcus in our office a call and say, hey, Marcus, shoot me a link to that Retirement Analyzer and let me try it out for a month. He'll get you on the path to that. If you need some help getting through a case or two, I always recommend a guy just going and do one on himself. But if you need some help with a case or two, Marcus is glad to help you with that as well. And they've got great training, by the way. And again, that's taken care of at our cost. IMS Wealth. I'm not going to launch the poll, which I normally do here. If you have interest in getting your 65, if you have your 65 and you're not happy with your current RIA, maybe their fees are too high or their payouts are too low or their services are not strong enough, I would recommend that you give the boys over at IMS Wealth a call. Ask for Mike or Charles. You can dial them here at our regular number, 800-255-5055, and they'll just walk you through what they do. If you're thinking about getting your 65 and want some help with that, they're glad to do that as well. They've got great tools. They've got really great assistance along the way. We've helped a number of folks get that Series 65 in place in relatively short order. And they may tell you something that you don't know. Most folks don't know that if you have a CHFC or CFP, or I think in some states even a CLU, then you can automatically just apply for your 65 without testing. So there's some things that they can help you with, and we'd love to help you get to where you can to get outside just the insurance offerings that you maybe normally have and get into some of the managing of assets, and we can help you do that pretty easily. We've got a couple life and annuity academies. Actually, we have 3 more coming up this year. We're going to do, we just finished one. We're going to do one here in the mid of May. We'll do one this summer, and then we'll do one in the early fall. If you have interest in coming into an academy, give us a call, and we'll send you out a sample agenda and a registration form. That registration form just basically says, hey, I'm interested in coming into an academy, so that we know to call you when those academy opportunities arise. We'll have one coming up, as I mentioned. I think it's May 8th through the 10th. We've got one that we'll do this summer. Usually that's going to be like mid to late summer, and then we're going to do one in late September, I think like the 18th through the 20th. So those will be the general dates. They may change up a little bit, but if you have interest in coming in, and you can see what we talk about there, kind of the centerpieces, the top producer, sales ideas that you get. But whether it's, find out what's going on in the annuity market, seeing, what guys are doing, how they're working with their annuity clients to maybe work with some single premium life or some, the funeral trust products, or whether you want to do the banking on yourself type of program. There's a lot of things that we talk about that are sales ideas and initiatives to help you grow your business. We're going to talk about a little product. We'll talk about, some things to help you grow your business. So we'll talk about marketing, sales ideas. It kind of runs the gamut. If that is of interest to you, by all means, give me a call at 800-255-5055. Talk to your annuity sales or life sales director and say, hey, send me out an email with the latest agenda and the registration form. I'd like to have a closer look. So we'd love to have you come in to one of those. We're going to go to the Ritz coming in here at the end of August. So we'd love to have you and your guests join us. That is a trip that includes you and your guest. Qualification will be over at the end of June. Many of you that are on here today are well on your way, are already qualified. Congratulations for that. Love to have you down there. If you are close, let us know how we can help you. If you're qualified, you should have the registration link by now so you can get your flights and stuff taken care of. If you are getting on the path and need a little assistance, give us a call. Let us see if we can help you get in front of more clients and get your numbers to where you need to be and where you need to be for your family and to qualify for the RITs. We'd love to have you join us. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the Retirement Boss Radio. And Dave, are you out there?
I am.
Good. I'm going to need to make a quick change in the setup on this. So I'm going to do that. And while I'm doing that, if you don't mind, kind of give people a little history on Retirement Boss Radio, how it works, what you do, and a little bit of your history, and then we'll get up and teed up here.
Yeah, you bet, Steve. Yeah, my name is Dave Pemper, and I welcome everybody. We've got a good crowd, so I appreciate a lot of interest in thinking about or the possibilities of being your own radio financial show host. It's pretty cool. I have been in the business since 1981, so I'm not a youngster, and I've been around a lot of marketing, almost 500 seminars. And I did a live show, radio show, in a smaller town of a very small AM station for 11 years on every Saturday morning, 7:15 to 8 o'clock. And I got really well known. I mean, we did some trivia giveaway. We would have co-hosts on from time to time. And it was very educational in nature. The interesting thing about that is that my goal on that show was not to set appointments. My goal on that show was to get well known, which it very much did in this town of 40,000 people. Then for another 15 years, I did a market closing report. The show was live there the first 11 years, but then I did in another city, my hometown where I am now, Fremont, Nebraska. I did a closing market report, which took from 3.5 to 5 minutes, and I did that every day. I mean, I did some closing lines, but nothing that had a true process, and it easily paid for itself because I got several big pieces of business, and it was pretty reasonable here in my little town of 26,000. But then I was talking to Steve Murray, who introduced me with co-owner of IAMS, and I coach for IAMS, so I coach seminar production, seminar marketing, sales process marketing, 401k, rollover, etc. But I said, I'm really thinking about going back on the AM station in Omaha, Nebraska. That's our big city in Nebraska. Half the population is in the Omaha metro area, about 900,000. And I said, I'm going to do this, and you might have interest if I'm successful with this to go and roll it out to the rest of the sales and of the sales staff that's with IAMS and do their business through IAMS, and that's how it came about. And I've had very, very good luck, and I put this together from scratch. So I went out and I found a media buyer. I went out and I found a production company. I went out and it was tough. I kind of went through two different companies to get to the third company to actually the call center to take the calls and to set the appointments. So when I do my show, you're either going to do it on Saturday or Sunday. It's done on the weekend. I do mine Sunday at 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. It's an hour show, and it's not live. It's recorded, but it sounds live. And we'll say, let's open up the phone lines. I give the real strong offer, and then people start calling on in, and it goes. I took the calls in the beginning after the show for the first couple, 2-3 weeks, and then one of my main administrators, who actually was a broker herself way back when, she took the calls for about 4 weeks. We found out what people were asking, how the appointments are set, what to say, and then we wrote the script, and then we finally found a really high end, which is pretty darn reasonable to set that appointment for us. They work 24/7, and it's really, really been a neat addition to our team. We have one other person right now that's in a major metropolitan city in the south of about 2.5 million, and he's doing very well. Kind of slow start, but doing very well now. So that's kind of the background. So if you got questions, type them on in. I'll be more than happy to answer those. But that's a little bit of kind of my background and kind of how we got this started. So you might think, why radio for marketing? Remember, we want to get in front of more qualified appointments, not just qualified leads or qualified prospects, but those are set appointments for us. But you know what? Believe it or not, radio reaches more Americans than TVs, smartphones, personal computers, TV connected devices. Is that wild to believe? But it's true. The median age of a person who listens to radio is 61, and that's a perfect demographics. A few more female percentage than male percentage than female. But I'll tell you, I like working with the pre-retired and the retired market. And this is called Retirement Boss Radio. That's trademarked. Also, it's Take Charge of Your Money, trademarked. I trademarked it before I did one show. Because I know this was going to, that the opportunity to, we'd like to bring this across. We're working on probably 7 or 8 advisors right now. Some are strictly insurance, some are both securities and insurance. The show notes that we get from our production company, the production company is the one who edits it, it mixes it, it's recorded. So lots of times I'll say, hey, I didn't like how that sounded. Let's start over on that paragraph, and then I'll do it. But the show notes, I revise the show notes. If you're strictly insurance licensed, the show notes are they're the same notes, but they're a little bit different on some of the bullet points because they're not securities. And if you're security licensed, I'm securities licensed also. I have to run this through my broker dealer for compliance every week, and I pretty much know of how to write those show notes and what you can say and what you can't say to keep under the FINRA and SEC radar. Okay. Radio reaches a more upscale listener. Get a list: 93% of adults in the $75,000 income household listen to radio on an average. How bizarre is this? 12 hours a week. It's a lot. It's a lot of listening. Radio solidifies you as the expert. You know what? I mean, I did business with this fella and his wife about 2 months ago in our very first appointment. He said, I've never even met you before. He said, but you were on KFAB, which is the big kind of Rush Limbaugh station in Omaha. He says, well, you must have got the endorsement from the station. And I just said, well, you know what? Believe me, we will work for your best interest. Did I get the endorsement of the station? No, but just being on a station like that really does give you an endorsement. It puts you a level higher. And being on radio, completely different than being with seminars. There's a lot of respect, like, you know, you're a personality, you're a celebrity on the radio. It's hot. News talk radio is hot. Over 12% of all the listeners on radio go to talk radio, either talk or news radio. Okay? If you have any questions whatsoever, certainly bring them on up, and we will go in and we will answer those for you. Okay, let's go into the next slide here, if I can. Okay, this just kind of supports it. This is from Nielsen Ratings, stats report on radio. Radio reaches more Americans each week than any other platform. So this goes in. Look at radio versus TV, smartphone, PC, TV connected devices, the tablets. Still pretty wild. Now for younger folks, my son's 27, my daughter's 29. They're not going to listen as much to AM radio as someone who are the people that I'm marketing to. They're pre-retired and retired group. So we're looking for the folks during the week, the Rush Limbaughs of the world, Glenn Beck, Kim Commando, Dave Ramsey, Rick Edelman, all of those kind of big national people. You know, the reason they're on that station that you're going to be on, yeah, it's a bottom line. They're not on radio for the fun of it. They're on reason to generate a profit for the company, that people who listen to the ads and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Radio reaches lots of folks. Now, Retirement Boss Radio, take charge of your money. The content is very good. I mean, I said fabulous. I mean, fabulous, but it's good. Very good. 401, our content revolves around that transitional marketplace from age 50, 55 to 67, 68 to 70. But we like to work with a little over 401k money, so we talk about 401ks. We talk a lot about 403bs, 457s. We talk about IRAs and Roth IRAs, beneficiaries. We talk about retirement planning in general. We talk about in-service non-hardship withdrawal plans, beneficiaries, and Social Security. And if you don't know Social Security, it's interesting because I will coach you up on Social Security at no charge to you if you're enrolled in the program. Normally we charge $750 for 5 sessions, but I do that because I think Social Security is an important enough subject to give, it garners, I would say, a third of all the business that I've written was because they called in because of Social Security. It's very, very strong. So if you don't know Social Security, you will when we get done coaching, and I'm always available to call me to answer questions. I've been in the business since 1981, so you can figure that out. 38 years, it's a long time. 30 plus years for being in the business. 25 of those years, I've either had my own live show or I did a recording on a market person, kind of like Paul Harvey in the news. But what I want to do, when you get mic'd up to record your first show, you'll get better and better and better, because the very first one is probably your worst one. The next one is probably the next worst one, but then it gets better as you go. But I'll tell you right now, you're able to really get a feeling of what to do, and then I listen to your first 3-4 shows to critique them so you can get better and better. If you'd like to listen to one of my broadcasts, just go to www.retirementbossradio.com, www.retirementbossradio.com. That's our site, and you'll see all of my past, and we just have 30-minute clips. Interesting enough of what we do, and this really saves on production costs, and I can thank Jared, who is our who helps us with media buying, but also helps with the go-between for production. Is that we record a half an hour show, and then we use a recorded show from before for the other half an hour. So you're not recording for an hour, you're recording for a half an hour. That saves time. Also, most people on AM radio don't listen to the entire show. When's the last time that you listened to 3 hours of Rush Limbaugh from front to finish? Hardly ever. How many times have you listened to partially Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck or Kim Commando or Rick Edelman or whoever else is nationally syndicated, Bohannon, Gallagher, Savage, all those guys and gals? Yeah, you know what? Laura Ingraham, what you're doing is you're listening to a portion of the show. I've not had once a person come in and say they think it's live, and not once have I said, hey, I heard that before. It doesn't happen. So this is a turnkey system. I coach you out on 5 coaching sessions of kind of how to say it, what to say, how to make sure that we're within compliance, what we can't say. We role play a lot. But the nice thing here is that you record this from the comfort of your home. It sounds live. Our production company, I mean, I don't want to use the word fabulous again, but it's great. They're very, very good. In fact, we got 2 production companies that we can do business with. We do more with one right now, but they're very, very good at what they do. You get coaching from myself, so it's one-on-one coaching. You can, and I critique, especially the first 3 or 4 or 5, constructively critique your radio show. So you're not out there on the wild, wild west by yourself. You got someone who's I got a lot of radio presence. I've done a lot of public speaking, and I'm pretty good at what I do. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you with this. Now, one of the cool things on this too is the production company, with the cost you're paying them, you're also got a co-host. And that co-host is like the color person on a sporting event. They're not the main. You're the main thing, but they kind of keep it going. They ask the questions. They're the ones that laugh and keep it going, keep it lighthearted. And I think it's much stronger if you have a co-host than you try to do it yourself. The production company, they edit, they mix, they put in the advertisements for you. They go in and they make it sound live, and they make it sound great with the music. Again, if you go to www.retirementbossradio.com, certainly listen to it. If you listen to a couple of my 30-minute shows, which we put them together for an hour, you'll get a real good feeling of the quality that you could have also. The commercials, the music, Again, I'm biased. I call it truthfully biased, but I truly think that it's one of the best out there. Okay? I'll have to go back on one of those here. If you have any questions whatsoever, certainly go in. I think it's $50 a month to go up on podcasts. We're on Beancast. We're also on iTunes. That's only if you want to do that. And gosh darn, Steve, I'm trying to go back on this. Let me go back on this real quick. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Jumping around slides here a little bit. The airtime is the most expensive part of a radio, an hour radio show on a big AM radio station in your area. Yeah, and our radio buyer, I'm just going to tell you, I mean, I'm talking about everything great. He's exceptional. His family's been in the radio business, either owning radio stations or buying radio time for over 60 years. And in fact, he's down in the southeast in North Carolina, and he's going down to Augusta because they got a media pass because his dad owns a radio station in Augusta. How hard are those passes to get? Yeah. And so he does over 400 weekly shows that he negotiates and buys airtime. Out of the maybe 15, 16 shows since we opened this up about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, he has done business with every single station that he's given his quotes on. He's a very good negotiator and can do I'm going to tell you right, I got a quote locally from KFAB, our big 50,000 watt station, and it was 60% higher than what he had negotiated down to. Yeah. And I had done that about a year ago because I was thinking about it then. So there's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of really good minds behind this, putting it together in the turnkey system. Now, if you got any questions at all, certainly type them on in, and we'll be more than happy to go in and to get those for you. I say there's more of a celebrity status when it comes to something like this, and depending on the area, but we've had quotes total, all in, all the radio time, and I mean the 4 weeks of radio time, a month of production, the call center. Those are the three costs that you have, and then there's $50 extra if you put it on iTunes, which I did, and the podcast through Beancast. But what happens is that I've seen the total cost to be under $2,000 a month, and then the normal cost is going to be maybe $3,500 to $4,500. And if you're in a great big city, if you're in the New Yorks of the world or the Chicagos of the world, the LAs of the world, then it can go in and get $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. But most of the people, it's $2,000 to $4,500, $2,000 to $5,000. So it gives you a bit of a star quality. I mean, people look at a host on radio, it's just like Rush Limbaugh. I mean, that's star quality. Of course, that's top notch, but still, if you're on the same station as him, that's kind of something. Okay? Now, let's go in. This gives you an idea. This is an actual sheet that we get from our appointment, our live appointment setting call center. See where it says in Teleform? That's how it comes over. So I get this. It's just like Christmas. I do my show from 12 o'clock on Sunday to 1 o'clock. And some of the very best times are Saturday from 8 through 6 o'clock, and then Sunday 8 through about 3 o'clock. And I've got a 12 o'clock time. And what happens, you get this form, and if you kind of look at that, see where it's source KFAB radio, this comes from the call center. It was appointment was scheduled, the appointment date, and the appointment time is 8:30 a.m. on March the 5th. And here's the comments they had. He's turning 59 soon, hasn't settled on someone yet, meaning an advisor. He has a 401k that is 7 figures. Actually, that was a lie. It was $940,000. Also had questions about Social Security. We answered those questions on Social Security. He's a single fella, never been married. He's 59 on April the 12th. That means he's 59 and a half on October the 12th of this year. That gives him, he does have an in-service non-hardship withdrawal provision. He can take money out. So am I going to take, he's going to continue to work there until he's 62 or 63. He's not going to take all of it out, but we're looking at 300,000 of this money. And he said he'd like to go in and have more options, especially his guarantee option is very bad within that. It's a stable income fund, which has a lot of money in because he's very conservative. It's paying 1.41%. Besides not writing the business right now, what a perfect appointment. And so that gives you an idea. And of course, I cherry pick. It's a little larger than the normal, but I tell you what, those are the kind of, and the appointment was all set for me. Okay. So retirementbossradio.com again. Yeah, I love this. It says, procrastination is my sin. It brings me constant sorrow. I really shouldn't practice it. Perhaps I'll stop. You know what? Tomorrow never comes, does it? And the reason I bring this up to you, if you heard something today in this webinar that you say, hey, you know, that's interesting. I'd like to know more about radio, whether you do it or not. There's no cost. I'm telling you what, we're trying to find people who want to market, who want to increase the number of appointments they have each and every week. Right now on KFAB, I'm averaging right at 3 appointments a week. So that's about 13 or 14 appointments a month. But the nice thing is, I mean, I see them right when they come in on Sunday. I can go to my email and I get it on my phone, and when I'm at home or I'm on a trip. But it's like Christmas. All of a sudden, I see the appointments lining up. The appointments said. I mean, the radio. They're calling in, and then the appointment setting call center, who is very good, are setting the appointments for me. So I've got set appointments. I do confirm them on Monday, but that's just a great way to do it. And one of my very last slides before Steve goes in and puts up the, if you'd like to have a radio consultation, but by phone, to have me call you back, then we'll just fill this on out. But if I can go to the next slide here. Steve, oh, there it is. This is by Al Jolson. He's an actor, but he says, I'd like to do radio just like pictures, leave the imperfect stuff on the cutting room floor. The reason I put that up is because we have a cutting room floor. This is a recorded show. Recorded, we call it Studio in a Box. It's a mic, it's a phone, it's a little windscreen over your mic, and if you don't have a lot of sound deadening stuff in your room for another $30, I mean, the whole thing costs you well under, it's like $150, but you sound just as good as being in the studio. And it is studio quality equipment, but we can leave the imperfect on the cutting room floor because this is a recorded show. I can't tell you how easy it is to pick your time out of your office or your house to record this. That's different than a seminar. And I'm not against seminars. I still do seminars. Still have a lot of folks that do seminars. But you know what? If you're good at radio, you're pretty quick on your feet. I will tell you right now, it's a medium that really puts you a level above the average marketer in our business. And Steve, I'm going to kind of let you go in and do the slide here. If you'd like information, I'll turn it over to Steve and see what the questions there were. But if you want information on Retirement Boss Radio to have your own show in your own area, I will first say the area has to be at least 100 to 150,000 people. If you're in town at 20,000, no, you know what? It's just not going to work. It's just not going to reach enough people to get enough calls coming on in. So it has to be a little bit of population, 100 to 150,000 minimum. But if you mark yes, put down a phone number that is a good number I guess to reach you at. I guess we have that. Then what we'll do is Lynn or Lori or Amy will call you on Monday, and we'll get together for a 20-25 minute and see if there's something that could be of interest to you. So, Steve, I'm going to hand it over and see if we have any questions.
We do have a few, and while we're answering questions, I did throw the poll up there. So, like as Dave mentioned, if you have interest in chatting with Dave a little bit more about radio and get some more of your personal more personal questions answered about radio, he would love to do that with you. Just put yes on that poll. He'd be the first one to tell you there's no obligation at all that goes with that, just an opportunity for you to get more information. So really good stuff. So Dave, most of the questions are about cost. And I know you went over the cost of the little setup that they need with their computer to actually record the show. But most of the questions are like, what's the cost of airtime? So can you go, I mean, I know that varies, but can you give the guys some ballpark ideas of what the cost might be?
Yeah. I'm going to take this right from the sheets, Steve, that Jared, our media buyer, gives us. They're the ones that do the background. They've been in the business just from radio buying for over 22 years. Okay. So here's what happens is, and the negotiation is, I mean, it's very, very good. So let me get the book out, and
Okay.
I'll just give some ideas here. Okay.
Perfect.
So we've got, this is just for example. So this is one of the top stations. Let's say Portland, Oregon. You probably got 2 million people up in Portland, Oregon. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is a station. It's a big AM station. I mean, it's the Rush Limbaugh station. Okay, so you've got Rush Limbaugh, you got Sean Hannity, you've got the big hitters that are on the station. It's a 50,000 watt station. That's the most wattage any AM station can have. That's what I have in Omaha. KFAB is a 50,000 watt station. So this is $450 per week. That's the cost for airtime for an hour. And I'll take this back. We did this a little bit different. I remember this now. We also will go half hours. So this is a huge station up. It's the biggest station that's up in Portland. And this actually, we did it off of in half an hour. So this is half an hour, not an hour, which we do. And you take that times 4, that's $1,800. There's $1,000 for the production and $200 for the call center. So we basically are at $3,000. That's a little bit unique in that is for a half an hour. Let's go on in and take somewhere where it's kind of easy that you've heard of before. So let's go in and take, for example, Las Vegas. Again, 2 million people in Las Vegas. This is the second biggest station. This is Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham. It's a 50,000 watt station, and this is Saturday from 5 to 6. Well, $300 per airing. Well, if you go $300, 300, and you take it times 4, that's $1,200, $1,000 for production, $200. You can get into that station for under $2,500 for a whole month's time period. So those are just to give you an idea. There's lots of times we don't. Sometimes we can get the biggest station. Sometimes it's the second or the third. Sometimes they're mostly AM. Sometimes they're FM alone. Sometimes they're AM FM simulcast. I just saw that there was one that we did that was about $600, but it's AM and then FM dollars. So $600. Then you take it times 4. You add 1,000, add 200. That's your total cost for that month's time period. But that's 4 weeks of airtime. So I always say you can do seminars. A lot of seminars cost more than that. So you can do it for the cost of what a monthly seminar is, and you're able to get that live voice co-host of all of your show notes. I mean, it's quite a marketing machine, and I've really had very, very good success with it. I was fortunate that I had done radio live before, but it certainly isn't for the right person and the right personality. We can certainly go in and coach you up to hopefully be very successful in radio marketing.
And we know, Dave, that we've seen some variation in that, but the range is probably going to be somewhere between 2,000 to 4,000 a month. Would you say that's going to catch most people in terms of the cost, the actual hard costs?
Yeah, 2,000 to 4,500, I'd say. Yeah, I think so. And again, the bigger the metropolitan. But you know what? I mean, we were looking down in Houston, and in Dallas both. I mean, we got we got a couple that were in the $3,000 range on both of those that are big stations: Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Kim Commando, etc. So we just, you know what? If you have interest in We Talk and you want to progress it, there's no cost to it. We're not twisting arms, and this is pretty cool. We got a tremendous amount of demand right now, and the beautiful thing is we got a lot of supply because IAMS is just rolling out Retirement Boss Radio. So it isn't like we've got a lot of places that have already been taken. It's open. So Steve, we've had lots of interest in this marketing program, haven't we?
Yeah, it really has been. And it seems like the first step everybody wants to take is, well, what radio station can I get on, and what cost would it be? The first step you really should take is to give Dave a call and see if it might be a fit for you. There's some nuances I think that would be beneficial to go over with Dave. Most people are a little bit fearful of how do I do my recording? How do I do, who's the co-host? How's all that work? What do I say? And Dave has got that all lined out. So it really is the A to Z. But that being said, still not for everybody. Your area might not be good. That might not be a good fit for the way that you communicate. There's all kinds of things. So, I think the first step is to have a chat with Dave. Second step is let's explore and see what might be available in your area. I don't think there's been any situation yet that I can think of where there hasn't been, and Jared's, I know, would be really good with us to tell us if there's nothing good as far as broadcasting options available in an area. I just don't think we've run into that yet. I think we've been able to find a spot on either the one or two.
Steve, there actually was one. There was a city in Northern California that we could not get a good pricing.
Okay.
And you know what? Then all of a sudden, it came up about 40 days later. It came on up, and the pricing came up. But I failed to mention this, but we've got a big hitter. I mean, he's been in the business for 30 plus years. I mean, he's $1 million producer. I've known him forever. You've known him longer than forever, Steve. And you know what? He has. I mean, he certainly could do the radio himself, but he just doesn't want to even take. I mean, he travels a lot, and he tries a lot of different cities on his business, and he wants me to do it for him, which I absolutely will. And so then what happens is with him, I would actually record the show for him each week, put his ads in, promote everything to him. All the leads go to him. We can certainly do that also. So do I think it's better if you do it yourself? I do. But if you don't want to, then Dave Pemper, myself, I can absolutely personalize the show. We can work out and personalize the show that I am doing the show for the advisor in that town. So that's also an option that you have if maybe you don't want to take the time, because it does take some time to record and to study and what to say and how to say it. If you want me to do it, then we can work that also out in a turnkey system.
Good. Dave, it's www.retirementbossradio.com, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So there's about 4 folks aboard that wanted to hear what it would sound like. So you can go there. If you go there, you can actually listen to some clips. And I know that, like, when we sent one of our agents there and he listened to it, he said, well, that sounds really great, but I know mine is never going to sound like that. It will sound almost exactly like that. I mean, the production that they do is phenomenal, and they do a really great job with it. So it really does sound very, very professional and very well done. And, I think Dave would be the first to say that his first show wasn't his best show, but it still got him a couple of folks to call in, and they just get better and better as you get just a little bit more comfortable with the format of it all and working with because he's got a really, do you use the same guy for the co-host for all of them? Because that's question number 2 as far as who's the co-host. Is that somebody that they have to arrange? So you arrange the co-host, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the same. It's Steve, and it's the same co-host for all of us. Now, there are times, and we're going to use another production firm too. There's a specific reason for that. So we've got some, we can go on in. We've got a bit of a choice, but I favor the one that I do it with and the co-host that I do it with. That's what we're trying to go on in and use. So it's very systematic. There's a process. The show notes. I mean, there's bullet points, and so there is a show out there. By an FMO that they go in and they read every single word, and I find it, believe it or not, I'm certainly not putting it down, but when you read a script, no matter how good you are, it still sounds canned, and they're doing very well. They're getting a lot of business in, and if they can do it, I'll tell you what. I mean, when you have bullet points and you freewheel it a little bit more and put your own personality into it, and it doesn't sound canned, it's even more the better for the listener to call in to set up that appointment.
Perfect. And so Ken asks, and I'm not sure, Ken, if we're going to answer your question right. I'm not sure if what you're asking here, but Ken asks, are you selling the radio system where you do all the research in the advisor's area? So maybe what he's asking is, finding the right station and making sure that he's on the, doing the research to make sure he's on the right, hitting the right demographic.
Well, Steve, what he's talking about, just like our good producer friend that's out in the West Coast, look what we've done. Because he does a lot of traveling, and in the beginning he was looking as far down as Las Vegas, but all of a sudden now we've got it that we've probably looked at, because there's so much population out there, but now we're looking actually at another area. That, and again, I'm from Nebraska, so I certainly don't know California like he does, because that's where he's from. But we're looking at another area that has some very good competitive times. So yeah, if we talk, and then what we do is I give that to our radio buyer, and then Jared, I'm just telling you what, Jared has 400 shows weekly that he goes on in and that he buys airtime for. And so, they're all over the United States. There has not been one station that the guy didn't know the call letters for. I'm just amazed of how that mind works. But absolutely. If you're in an area, don't know exactly what would be the best, we will certainly help you work through that and find the demographics of the right station at the best value. That means, not value to me means, what's the radio time cost? What location? What time in the day do you have? You'd much rather have a Saturday at 10:30 or 10 o'clock, let's say, than you would a Sunday at 6 a.m. So we kind of see what the best value is. It doesn't always mean it's the least expensive, but where do we have the chance to get the best value? The return on your investment of what your investment is, and of the amount of appointments you get and the amount of business that you write. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah, and we very much can help in that arena.
Okay. And Kevin asks, he says, so the show is not scripted and we can put in our own content, correct?
Absolutely. So your show and my show will have the same notes. Now, if you're an advisor and your securities license, we're going to have the same notes. If you're just insurance, I tweak it a little bit, because there's some things we can say and can't say when you're strictly insurance, but just as good. But you know what will happen is the theme will be the same of our two shows, but the actual wordage, the actual words that come out, of course, will be different, because it's your own voice. Absolutely.
And you kind of backhandedly answered the next question, which the gentleman had asked, it is securities license, and he said he just doesn't want to spend the whole radio show bashing securities. So you might want to give him a little bit about your background and some of the things that you talk about. It'd probably be good to talk about, broker-dealer approval as well.
And I want to know, Steve, is backhandedly, is that a real word?
I just
it must be. It must be. It's a great one. I like it, though. I do. Okay. So he wants to know, he just doesn't want to go and be bashing securities. Is that what he said?
Basically, yep.
Well, Retirement Boss Radio, I do 80% of my business with securities, and about 20% is with fixed indexed annuities. And so what happens, I'm a security guy. And so what happens is here, I'll just show you. I got the show notes right here from last time. So here's what we did. Here's what it was. Here was the intro. The closer we get to retirement, the more we need to make sure our investment plan is helping to keep our money safe. On today's show, some ideas and strategies that can help you do just that. So we're talking about here, carefully select your investments. We're talking about within your 401k, decrease volatility it says here, I'd say, decrease volatility by diversifying. Here's my A bullet point. Diversifying your assets can help you protect from losing money, because different asset classes are unlikely to all decline at the same time. B, instead of investing all of your retirement savings in the U.S. stock market, you can spread your money across other areas such as stocks, bonds, foreign, publicly traded REITs, etc. Know your level of risk. And then shift more of your conservative investments over time. Consider delaying retirement. Like consider delaying retirement. Here's my bullet point. While early retirement sounds nice, one way to reduce the risk of running out of money in retirement is to work longer. If you work another several years and stash away a larger part of your salary, you most likely will solidify your retirement savings and have fewer years of retirement to pay for. And then the second part of that, then my next segment, in that 30-minute segment, we talk about Social Security. I talk about the 6.2% payroll tax. I talk about the $132,900 tax cap, 35 years of earnings to calculate. 1461 is the average amount. See, it's just like if I talk about 1461 is the average amount of payment. Then here's my bullet points. Retirement workers will receive an average Social Security payment of $1,461 per month in 2019. Retired couples bring in an average of $2,448 monthly. Payments are adjusted each week to keep up with inflation as measured by the Consumer Price Index. Urban wage earners and clerical workers, and the cost of living adjustments are ranged from 0 in 2010, 11, and 16 to the COLA was 14.3% in 1980. Now, do I read it like that? I don't. And it's not good if you do, but there's bullet points are there, so I take it. So, I might go on and say, folks, when it comes to the average amount is a little over $1,450 a month for all the U.S. But here in Nebraska, I figure if a person comes in with a $2,000 benefit, I'm kind of role-playing, $2,000 benefit, they've worked their whole life and they got a pretty darn good job. Okay, so what happens is you got to think back how important COLA is on increasing your benefit in retirement and year to year when you're retiring, because everyone gets a COLA on their Social Security. For example, in 2010, 11, and 16, zero COLAs. Zero COLAs. In 1980, over 14% COLAs. So when you hear the government that they might go on in thinking about reducing or not having COLAs, to try to preserve the Social Security Trust Fund, vote against it because it will be hurting your pocketbook in the long haul. Now, that's something like I might say in the actual show.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
We still have that
idea.
By the way, we still have a couple more. You've generated a couple more questions. Obviously, now I've got someone saying, do you have to be securities licensed in order to be on the radio using your?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, I am. And some of our folks are, but some of our folks are not. So there's a show out there that's by another FMO, and it is strictly insurance license. Okay, I mean they're all, they're strictly insurance license. What they say they could not be because of compliance. It's more of the Wild West in insurance than it is from the broker-dealer side, which is very, very strict. RIA is kind of in the middle of that, maybe a little more towards compliance, but still has more leeway. But that's why I do change the notes a little bit when it comes. But you can talk in general standpoint without a brokerage license. You can talk in general about the stock market. You can't name a specific stock, which I don't. We never mention product. It's about retirement planning, financial planning. Just to give you an idea, and I'm just going back on one more. Here's another show that I did a couple of weeks ago. It says. Here's my intro. There are many kinds of risk when it comes to retirement planning, from investment risk to longevity risk. We'll break them down and highlight how to possibly avoid them. Then I talk about longevity risk, bullet points, financial risk, bullet points, inflation and tax risk. In fact, when I talk about financial risk, and my bullet points read, comes with the territory of investing, especially these days, as adequate return on average to a portfolio requires taking it. Then it says concentration risk, all of your eggs in one basket. Diversification is different than asset allocation. In every show, I put a quote in the news, and the quote here is by Warren Buffett. It says, "I will tell you the secret to getting rich on Wall Street. You try to be greedy when others are fearful, and you try to be fearful when others are greedy." And then my next bullet point my next topic is inflation, tax, and recession risk. And then I go through it, and then I have in the news, and I have one of those every 30-minute segment. This one is sources, National Association of Business Economics. 10% of 281 economists surveyed in February 2019 believe the United States will be in a recession by 12/31 of 19. 42% of the group believe a recession will have started by the end of 2020. So I try to get a quote in there, some news in there. That's all stuff that I put on into the show notes that I get. So I try to customize it. But if you're just insurance licensed, your show notes will be a little bit different. And I do two sets of show notes, one for securities and RIAs and one for insurance.
Perfect. There are a couple other questions, Dave, but I think you pretty well answered them. So unless anybody has any new questions, I'm going to close this poll out. We had a couple of you that didn't vote, which is just fine. If you have any questions that we didn't get answered today and you'd like to chat with somebody here at IAMS, give us a call at 800-255-5055. We'll gladly put you in touch with Dave as well. Post the poll going down here, which I'm going to close right now. And I'm just going to do one quick check, Dave, and make sure we've cleaned up all the questions here really quick.
Yeah, it's an exciting way to market because most advisors don't do this. And if you find the advisors and the insurance folks that are on the weekend that are doing this, I will almost assure you they're successful. They're very good at their trade. So I hope that we talked to a lot of folks, and I appreciate you being on the line. And is there any other questions, Steve?
There were not. We're in pretty good shape there. So let's go ahead and finish up. Anything you want to say as we close out?
No, I appreciate your time. Fridays, I know a lot of people I'm going to work just a little bit this afternoon. I'm going to try to go hit the link, so maybe have a bike ride this afternoon. But, thank you very much for coming on. My name is Dave Pimper. My name of my firm is Lazarus Coaching. I coach through the FMO of IAMS, Insurance Agency Marketing Services. Hopefully that we can help you get in front of more people and increase your production.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you all for joining us. Friday is not, I know, always a perfect day for you. We thought it might be good to tag you on some days when maybe you're normally not in the heat of the battle. So that's why we decided on Friday. But we appreciate you taking some time and joining us today. If any questions arise, give us a call. We'd love to help you in any way that we can. And again, the number here, 800-255-5055. You can ask for Steve Murray, which is myself. You can ask for any of our sales directors. And, of course, we'd be glad to put you in touch, more than happy to put you in touch with Dave and his staff over at Lazarus Coaching. So thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Dave. Have a great bike ride.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Bye-bye.